Well, friends, it's Skrull time. Episode 1 of Secret Invasion, but there are some things we need to talk about. And you know, I would really love if I could just come here and talk to you guys about Secret Invasion and just be like, wow, that episode, wow, that story, things like that. However, there is a big elephant in the room. It is a big AI elephant, and I need to talk to you about it because it detracted from the whole show. I don't know why. I mean, I know why. I think I know why Disney did this, but yeah, okay, so let's talk about this first and just get this out of the way so that then I can talk about the actual plot of the show, because I know everyone is talking about it, and when I watched the show, it definitely distracted me from enjoying the show. For those that are out there that are watching this, I'm not an anti-AI person. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily pro-AI either. I'm more of a person that's like, I think it really depends on how we use the AI. In this show, for those that are not aware and maybe haven't seen it yet, and this review is, I mean, I'm gonna be getting into spoilers, so I think if you're using this review to decide if you want to watch the show, there are spoilers in this, so just a heads up, this might not be the best review for that, unless you're cool with spoilers, and then to enjoy away. But this first part isn't really necessarily a spoiler. It's more about an issue to do with the intro of the show. So the intro of the show was AI generated. And like I said, I am of the mindset that AI can be a very cool thing. It can be a very good thing. It can be useful, but it all depends on what we do with it. Now, I knew the show, the intro was AI generated before I watched the show. I was already told this by someone, so I went in knowing this was a thing. However, I'm a firm believer that if I was not told that this intro was AI generated, I would have 100% guessed that this intro was AI generated. Now, I know that's hard for me to say because I don't live in the reality where I didn't know before I watched it, but I think it's very abundantly clear, and I'm sure if I had watched it, I would have been immediately Googling, wait, was what I just watched AI generated? Because it looked AI generated. And I don't mean that in a good way. It just didn't look good to me. And I know that there are other people that I've talked to about this that actually thought it did look good. I am not one of those people. I think it looked not even like good AI to me. It just looked kind of cheap. And it also was not very specific, it felt, to what we were going to be watching in the show. Let's just compare this intro to like the intro of WandaVision. WandaVision, I mean, not only does WandaVision have a powerful jingle attached to it that was literally made by the songwriting duo that created Frozen. So already miles ahead, just if we're talking about music. But that intro is amazing. It is, I would say, a perfect show intro. And if we're talking about Marvel superhero shows, it's amazing. This intro felt like they used a free AI generator to animate it. It was the hands, the Skrull hand shake. Just no. And I know Skrulls can shapeshift, so they can make their fingers look all weird like that, but that just looked like an AI generator that doesn't know how to make a hand, baby. And that is one of the things that I have said about AI art, which I know they're learning how to draw hands better, but the hands are disturbing to say the least. So yeah, I think it was not good. I think they did it because they wanted to try it and just see what people would think, give it a good old college try. Obviously, people are up in arms about this. They feel like they should have just hired animators. They have a team of animators anyways. And I think they did it also because they felt the controversy might actually help the show. So it might push it to a place where it would just get more coverage because of the hubbub, which is frustrating to me because I feel like you could have just let this show stand on its own merit. I don't think it needs controversy to succeed. And I think for you to say that about a show is unfortunate when I know so many people probably worked really hard on this show. So you've actually kind of shadowed their work by making it all about this AI conversation, which is disappointing to me, to be honest. It just feels kind of gimmicky, and it feels like I understand them wanting to try it just to see, but if you want to try it, like, just actually try to do it well. It just didn't feel well done to me. I do like the style of the intro. I do think the style is cool, but I would much rather see it animated by people that are going to make specific choices. All right, I've spent way too long talking about this, so that's all I'm going to say about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on it. I mean, AI is it's a hot button topic right now, and I think it's an important conversation for us to all have to figure out, I don't know, how we feel about it. I think it's good to talk about it, but I wish I didn't have to in relation to Secret Invasion, show that I was excited for, and then the credits took all the thunder out of it. But let's talk about the show, because the show is actually quite good. I did enjoy this first episode. I'm intrigued to see where it goes next. I will say, the first scene made me irritated. It made me like, ugh. And I think that was like intentional. I think they wanted me to be irritated, and so I'm actually like pleased that I was irritated, because I think that was the whole point. So initially, I wasn't a fan of Prescord, who's in the opening scene with Agent Ross, and they're having that conversation, and he just is going off and seems desperate and crazy, and he's just like a conspiracy theorist. That's what he feels like. And then he tries to kill Agent Ross, and you're like, whoa, like, what is happening here? And in the end, it's revealed that, of course, the Agent Ross was not Agent Ross. He was a Skrull the whole time. I knew as soon as he fell, thud, onto the pavement, yeah, that's not Ross. There's no way they're going to do that to Ross in this show. To me, it was even really crazy that Maria Hill did not know that that was a Skrull, because she was heading to extract Ross, which means that she thought that that was actually Ross. So it kind of shows you just how crazy these Skrulls have gotten integrated into lives and can take over entire people's lives, potentially, and confuse even one of our best intelligence agents in the world of the Marvel Universe, in the cinematic universe. I feel like we already know that this is a different Nick Fury too when he returns to Earth and answers that call, based on the fact that he hugs Maria Hill upon returning to Earth. And just that choice, everyone's talking about how he was different when he came back from the blip, and I really feel that in this show. I'm intrigued by it. I really like his shift, I think. I mean, I like old Nick Fury, but I'm just curious to see how things have changed him and, where he's at now. I feel like this is going to be a bit of a character study on the character of Nick Fury, and I'm very much here for that. I really loved watching Samuel L. Jackson act opposite pretty much everyone in this episode. So I'm very excited to just watch more of that and get to see more of what's going on with the character. One of my favorite scenes is the scene with him and Sonya Falsworth. That they have, just the quippiness of that scene is it's so great. It's just such good like banter, and their attitudes together and their approaches with one another, and just seeing this history that they have that isn't said, it's just implied. They refer to it a little bit in the conversation, but mostly it's in the way they talk to each other. I loved that. I thought that was magical. So another thing that we're introduced to in this episode, Fury comes back to Earth, and it's revealed, that basically there's been this split with the Skrulls, where a lot of the Skrulls are getting really frustrated. They've had to wait now for 30 years for this new home planet. Doesn't seem to be happening. Nick left. Obviously, Carol is kind of a little bit AWOL, it sounds like. So I think they're just losing faith that these people are really going to help them. And they're getting frustrated. They've splintered off. Talos has been removed from the group, and Gravik has taken over. And Gravik is putting together a sort of compound of Skrulls, a sort of version of New Skrullos, is what they're calling it. And everybody gathers there, and it's a safe haven for Skrulls where they can be themselves. But also, it's a place where he's basically gathering an army of Skrulls that he can use to disrupt Earth and take over Earth, potentially, is what it seems like is happening. Also, can I just say this Skrull compound seems like a cult. Like, they come in, and just the fact that Gaia is explaining to this sort of new person that's arrived here that's looking for a safe haven. Like, oh, if you're a warrior, the cool thing is then you get to leave, because no one that comes here otherwise gets to ever leave. And the fact that when the warriors like pledge themselves and like take over a role, they have this like whole little speech that they say that's kind of like, I don't know, it just felt really culty to me, man. And I'm just saying, I think this might be a cult. So Gaia, get out of there, girl. You're in a cult. It does not look good. Oh. The other thing that I was curious about is, so these are some questions that I just have about how we got here and how this kind of makes sense. I can see why it makes sense, but these are a couple of gripes that I have that I hope these are questions we dive into a bit. I'm wondering, do the Skrulls not feel bad for potentially exterminating a whole other species? Kind of like the Kree were trying to do to them when we helped them like 30 years ago? Because I don't see any of that remorse. And maybe there are some Skrull that aren't really fully aware of what's going on, because Gravik does seem like a need-to-know guy, so he might have not told everybody the full plan, where it seems like they maybe want to like kind of nuke Earth because they can live still there, but other people won't be able to, and then they could like take it over. I just feel like they should feel bad, considering that's what was happening to them, and now they're doing it to someone else. But also, I don't know, man. People do stuff like that all the time, so maybe that is completely realistic. Let me know what your thoughts are on that and how you think the Skrulls might be justifying that, I guess. I hope we see more of how they're justifying it, because I think it needs to be justified a little bit. I was also wondering if the Skrulls live so long. Like, if they live, I don't know, they say Talos here is like 136 years old and he's not even in his midlife yet. So if they're hundreds of years old and that's their lifespan, would 30 years really bother them? But then I guess time is still time, so we still process it in the same way. Some people's interpretation of, you know, ancient or immortal beings, like they still feel the passage of time normally. So 30 years is still like, just sucks if you have to wait that long, which I understand. But I'm just saying, relative to their lifespan, it wouldn't actually be that long of a time. So that's another thing I'm wondering how we're justifying that. What happened with Gaia and how she kind of came back to the side and then last minute found out that the intel she gave to her dad is basically useless. Whoa, that sucked. And it also makes me wonder now what Talos is going to be thinking of Gaia, and if he's going to still believe that his daughter came back, or if he's going to be now suspicious because the intel she gave them like walked them into a trap. But she didn't know. She didn't know. I think he's still going to believe her because, I mean, that's his daughter, and he obviously seems like a guy that wants to give people the benefit of the doubt just naturally. Like Fury said, like, you can't be so, like, merciful. Like, you can't be, like, soft. That's why these people got rid of you. So you gotta be hard hitter. But I feel like that's not Talos' way. I feel like he is kind of, that's just who he is. I also am very excited for when we get into what happened to Gaia's mother, because all we know from this episode now is that probably it had something to do with Gravik and this Skrull uprising. That's all Talos told Gaia. He just said, you should ask them what happened to your mom when she finds out that her mom is dead. Because Talos wasn't able to get into contact with her because she went off the grid and disappeared. And obviously she takes that very hard. So I'm interested to see the scene where she confronts them about that, because I think that might be coming up in episode 2. Or soon, hopefully. I'm sure it's going to be intense. Also, I can't believe... So I was like, oh, there's no way Ross is going to die in episode 1. And then Maria Hill died at the end of episode 1. What the heck was that? What? Episode 1, she dies in episode 1 of Secret Invasion? This character that's been around forever, we're killing her off in a show? Really? Really? I mean, she didn't turn back into a Skrull. So I gotta assume this is true. But I don't want to assume this is true because Maria Hill can't be dead. That would be crazy. I was wondering if we still have some of that serum around that they used to save Fury and save Coulson in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, I know Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is no longer canon. Rest in peace, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. No longer part of the canon. But is that part still part of the canon? Because is Coulson still alive in the canon? Did we explain that, even though Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not part of it? I'm just curious. I feel like maybe we could bring Maria back in some way. I hope we do, because it would be disappointing to me if she died in this episode. Also, I was thinking about how during the chess match, she says to Fury, you got to be careful. Like, if you're not ready for this, it's better for you to just stay out of it. And she was like, you're the one that told me that lesson. Like, if you're not ready for a fight, it's better to just not be involved because other people could get hurt. And I was like, man. And Maria Hill's the one that died. She's trying to warn Nick. But I guess at the same time, Fury's probably going to feel like this is my fault. Like, I helped these people, walk them into a trap. Also, I walked around a bunch following the shape-shifting person that ended up being Gravik and didn't do really anything about it until the last minute, and it was too late because bombs went off and then everyone was running around, so I couldn't get a clear shot. If I were Fury, I would have some regrets about that. So, might be dealing with that in episode 2. Let me know what you thought about that final sequence. Let me know what you thought about Maria Hill's death. What's going on with Gaia. I wanted to discuss with you guys. That's all I got to say about this episode. I'm excited to watch episode 2 next Wednesday, and hopefully I'll have this video for you up sooner after episode 2. Yeah. All right. Thanks, friends. Have a good night, and as always, stay nerdy. Bye!